Hi there, welcome to my channel. This is my fourth video, and this idea has been nagging me for quite some time now, and I know that a lot of you will raise your eyebrows at this, but please, um, my name's Talia, otherwise known as Oroku Yuri here on YouTube, and this is a story on how I became a cult leader's goddaughter.
Mag-iingat kayo. Huwag ninyong galitin ang anak. Kayo ang sumuko sa akin sapagkat panalo na ako sa tatay ninyo, si Lucifer.
Amen.
Walay gahumang yawa sa ngalan ni Jesus. Walay gahumang yawa sa ngalan ni Jesus.
It was between the years of 2003 and 2004. The surroundings were dark, quiet. I was inside an open-air gym with my mother, with the latter watching me as I played by the bleachers. The silence wasn't broken the moment my father yelled my nickname. "Choi," he said. "Come here. I want you to meet someone." 3-year-old me crawled out of the bleachers and ran to him, only to stop when I noticed two people standing beside him. One of them was a man wearing a basketball jersey, a pair of basketball shorts, a pair of basketball shoes, and a headband that held his hair back. There was also a basketball tucked under his left arm. The other person was, if I could remember correctly, a woman. She was wearing a simple polo shirt, paired by blue jeans and a simple pair of Mary Jane shoes. If my memory served me right. Dad was smiling. He then turned to the man and said, with his chest puffed up with pride, "Pastor, this is my daughter." He then turned to me. "Go on, say hello," he urged me. Without batting an eye, 3-year-old me reached out for the man's hand, pulled it close to my face, and tapped my forehead against the back of his hand. "Hi," I remember 3-year-old me telling the man. I didn't know what else to say, so I just stood there, looking at him. The man then laughed as he ruffled my hair. "She's adorable, Chito," he told my father. "How old is she?" "3," my dad replied. The man chuckled as he kept on staring at me. "She'll be a fine student in my school, Chito," he suddenly told my dad. "You could enroll her there next year." "Oh no, Pastor," my father said, laughing. "You do know that our house is 100 miles away." The man then chuckled and smiled at my father. "Chito, don't worry. I'll take care of everything." It was 2004, and the busy month of June just entered the picture. For us Filipinos, the month meant one thing: school. For both my parents and I at that moment, the month meant another thing. I was finally entering the happy life of a nursery student. My father even took a photo to commemorate the event before sending me off to school for the very first time. As expected of the school that's owned by Pastor Kibulay himself, the rules are quite strict. No one can enter the building if their shoes are wet. A student can enter the classroom if they're not in uniform. A student must be nice to their classmates if they don't want their teacher to call their parents. One might say that some of these rules are too much. Not for me and my classmates though. We were doing just fine. Ever since my father enrolled me into Osamaria College, his friendship with the pastor grew stronger. Too strong that even I myself was given privileges because of it. My father and I We could enter the pastor's very own bedroom if we wanted to. Eat anything that we wanted to. Visit her sermons without paying anything. When my father once given the chance to sit beside the Biden Mayor Rodrigo Duterte, I was even given the chance to have my very own private dorm room within the school grounds. Even though I was only 4 years old. My father kinda took advantage of our privileges too much that, well, even 4-year-old me realized that we're using the prayer mountain as a vacation spot for free. Here in the Philippines, there's this Christmas tradition that, well, forces the godparents to give their godchildren a couple of gifts. Well, once the Christmas season enters the scene, of course. Toys, money, books, gadgets. Well, you name them. Well, that's when I started to see the pastor as my godfather. It was the 25th of December, year 2004. 4-year-old me got out of bed and ran into the living room to open my presents. My parents were there in the living room, watching TV. Before I could even reach the Christmas tree, I saw this box on the table that's wrapped in a bright red wrapper. "What's that?" 4-year-old me asked my parents. My mother looked at me and said, smiling, "It's for you." Just as what my mother had said, there's this big tag beside the bow that said, "For Thalia." 4-year-old me suddenly ripped the wrappers apart, uncovering the box of an expensive-looking Barbie doll. My very first Barbie doll. 4-year-old me turned to my parents again and asked, "Who gave it?" My father laughed and jokingly said, "Your new godfather, Pastor." I was almost through with my first year as a nursery student when my father slowly started to distance himself from the pastor, after the man openly told my father that he wants to hire me as an actress in one of his shows, namely the Batang Karian. Thanks, Dad. You saved me from a life of shame. Anyway, my father knew Pastor Kibuloy too well that he immediately knew that it's a big part of the pastor's plan. The plan to lure us in and turn us into loyal members of his church. He immediately told both my mother and me about his plan of transferring me to another school, which made me cry because I really liked studying in Jose Maria College, and that I didn't want to leave the friends that I managed to make during the first few months of studying there. I then saw, for the first time, the look of defeat on my father's face. He knew that if my attitude continued to remain the same, the three of us, me and my parents, we would eventually become members of the KJC. During my days as a nursery student in Jose Maria College, the teachers were given this one specific rule that allows us nursery kids to hang out in the classrooms in their playground. Well, once we're done with the schoolwork, of course. Well, my classmates and I were pretty smart kids. So it only took us a few minutes to finish the activity that our teachers gave us. And of course, being kids, ran straight into the playground to play. We were all having fun when one of my female classmates suddenly started crying. The toys that she's playing with were forcibly taken away by a male classmate of ours, a boy that's known to be our class's biggest troublemaker. I didn't know why, but I instantly shoved him away and got the toys back, which, of course, made the bully bite my forearm as revenge. My cry of pain, of course, eventually ruined the classroom's peaceful atmosphere. My mother was called, ice was pressed against my bruised forearm, the bully was punished. Everything happened so fast, but I could still remember the very words that I told my mother and teachers as they consoled me. I don't want to be in the school anymore. I hate it here. Many years had passed since my father and I last saw the pastor in person. Throughout those years, my father would often tell me random jokes like, if that classmate of yours didn't bite you, then you're probably selling donuts right now for the sake of donations. Of course, I didn't get his joke back then. Well, that was when the allegations started pouring in.
First tonight, a young woman accused of sex assault says a Filipino mega church with followers in Hawaii is involved in trafficking minors for sex.
Court documents claim the woman and others were raped by an international evangelist with property in Waipahu.
Sa abiso ng FBI sa kanilang website, kaugnay ito sa umano'y partisipasyon ni Kibuloy sa anilay labor trafficking scheme sa pamamagitan ng pagdala sa ilang miyembro ng grupo ni Kibuloy sa Amerika gamit ang mga pineking visa para pilitin umano silang humingi ng donasyon para sa isang umano'y peking charity.
Looking back, I now understood why my father acted that way. After the pastor shared his idea with him, he knew what's going to happen next once I grew older. I'll be kicked out of Batangkarian and would either end up as someone who sells peanuts for donations or worse. When I was 19, I remembered my dad telling me a story about a lovely young girl from the city of Cebu. She's not just beautiful. Her voice was quite lovely to listen to as well. These qualities of hers eventually, well, captured the pastor's attention, which ultimately led to the girl's recruitment into the KJC. Of course, this only meant one thing. The girl's always away from home. Her family, who, according to my dad, was strictly Catholic. And whenever the girl will get home from her, adventures in the KJC world, they would start scolding her. Of course, the girl eventually told them about her new gig, which led to more scolding, unfortunately, as well as her parents demanding her to cut ties with the KJC. Unfortunately for the parents, their daughter refused to listen and instead told her KJC brothers and sisters about her parents' demand. Their advice? Don't listen to them. It's just the devil tempting you. Pretty ironic, to be honest. Quite unfortunately, again, the daughter chose to listen to her KJC brothers and sisters, or whatever they are, which eventually led to her abandoning her family. Her parents were heartbroken. Of course, she's their only daughter, their only child. And her leaving them like that, it's just not right. And out of the combination of desperation and heartbreak, the parents eventually decide to follow their daughter into the KJC family just for the sake of staying together. Another story that my father told me was about the luring process. Imagine this. You're someone who's buried under huge debt. Student loans, electricity bills, water bills, your credit card, everything. You didn't know what to do. Your mental health is declining. Your paranoia is increasing. To put it simply, your life is hell. You then eventually decided to meet up with a friend, hoping that it could somehow clear your mind. After hours of preparing, you eventually met up with your friend. Your friend asked you how you're doing with life, and you instantly broke down. You told them everything about how troubled you are, about how hopeless you are. You were crying. Your friend was quiet. They were quietly listening to every single word that escaped your lips. They then gently rubbed your back, comforting you, telling you that everything will be okay. They eventually said, "Come with me. We'll pray together at my church." Since they're one of your good friends, you agreed. The two of you then entered this small space inside the building, a chapel of sorts. It's not that big, but it's enough for 100 people. There was a sermon going on, and out of respect, you closed your eyes and, along with the others, started praying. An hour has passed, and the sermon is done. You were about to leave when your friend pointed at a prayer box found near the altar. They told you to write your name and troubles on a piece of paper, fold it, and put it into the box, which you did. The day after, a stranger shows up at your doorstep and gives you a package. Of course, you're confused by this. You told the stranger that there must be some kind of mistake, that you didn't order anything. However, the stranger insisted that it's yours since your name's written on the tag and everything before leaving rather. You didn't know what to do with the package, but since your name's on it, you eventually decided to open the package and see what's inside. However, much to your surprise, money came spilling out the moment you opened the package. You then hurriedly began counting the money. 1,000, 8,000, 40,000. The amount was 2 times more than the amount that you'll need to pay for. You were speechless. You then grabbed your phone to call your friend. You told them what happened. About the package, about the money, about how you're already capable of paying off your student loans, the bills, everything. It's a miracle. You then heard your friend from the other line yell, "Yes, praise the Lord, hallelujah. The Lord has answered your prayers." You then fell quiet. Your eyes went wide. You suddenly remembered about the prayer box. The stuff that you wrote on that piece of paper. The stuff that you mentioned as you prayed in that chapel. A miracle indeed. You then excitedly asked your friend about the sermon's next schedule, which they told you without any hesitation. Your mind was racing. Your adrenaline was pumping. You're a very religious person, and yet, no matter how much you pray, your prayers were never answered. But the moment you prayed inside the church, your prayers were instantly answered. Your friend's church is the real deal. You need to become a member of this church. Well, That is, if you wanted to live a better life. Unfortunately for you, this mindset would eventually lead to your downfall. That prayer box, a KJC member would read its contents at the end of the day after making sure that no one else is there. This member would then call these superiors to tell them about the prayers that the church guests submitted earlier, and then these superiors would start working to answer these prayers. When you're an outsider, the KJC is full of laughter and smiles. Everyone is happy. Everyone is an equal. Everyone is handsome. Everyone is beautiful. But once you've become a member, your life will turn into a living hell. Your privileges, all of it will be stripped away from you the moment you stepped in as a member. You will be nothing more but a servant within the pastor's perfect world. Another pawn on his flawless chessboard. My father knew this too well, so after the moment my mom and I got home with me crying because of the bruise on my arm, he immediately used my pain as an excuse to pull me out of Jose Maria College before it's too late. After the first allegation against Pastor Kibuloy got released in 2018, things eventually started to go downhill for the church. More allegations against the pastor and his church then emerged within the following years.
4 U.S.-based administrators of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ Church virtually faced a Los Angeles federal judge on Friday.
Families separated, businesses suddenly filing for bankruptcy, children brainwashed. Looking back, I immediately saw the Kingdom of Jesus Christ as a Venus flytrap. Beautiful and unique on the outside, but deadly and toxic on the inside. If my father didn't need a pastor that well, if that nursery bully didn't bite me, then I guess that we're now probably trapped within the Pastor Kibuloy's perfect little kingdom, hoping, praying, and waiting for his promises that will never be fulfilled. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and click that adorable like button. Also, please follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Thank you and have a good day. God bless!